Thank you very much, everybody. What I have to present to you today basically is the video of Justin Amash when he came down to the Bloomfield Hills Republican Club a couple weeks ago. And we're going to let Justin tell you in his own words, all right, exactly about his fight right before the amendment got introduced and basically was put to a vote, all right? Ultimately, what happened is that they came within 7 votes of actually passing that amendment and defunding the NSA spying, which is no small feat. It's probably one of the first times that an actual loss in the House was looked at to be as somewhat of a win, where we had so much concern, so much bipartisan support. I'm more than certain that this is going to come up again soon. And hopefully we can get the word out to contact our senators and representatives, and we'll be able to get that finally passed and through, and let these establishment types know that we are serious. The Fourth Amendment is very important to us. While John's over here loading up my DVD, though, I'd like to say some of you know that we entered the film contest, Operation Paul Revere with a Dream Revered, and that was our film, and we came within like 1 vote of getting 3rd place. So they gave us the unofficial 4th place thing for that, which is really cool. So that we will end up making films in the future, and of course might be contacting some of you, all right, our liberty-loving friends, to possibly work on that film with us. And we don't know what we're going to need yet, but we're working on the script right now, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyways, this was originally filmed by John Irvine over here, so thank him very much for doing that. It's a lot of work, getting the film off your camera, condensing down, converting formats, uploading. It's a time-consuming process, Not too difficult, but it does, it does take a lot of time and a lot of dedication. And for the amount of videos that he's uploading, I mean, for sure, he's the man.
Thanks, Dennis. I'm trying to talk without a microphone, but let me know if this becomes a problem. So far, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to be here. I was delighted to have been invited, and had been planning for a while to try to expand my message beyond West Michigan. I'm usually spending my time in West Michigan or in D.C., and I wanted to get around other parts of the state to start to spread the message of liberty more and more. I think it's important that people hear different perspectives throughout the state. Oftentimes you'll see on TV a particular Republican perspective, and I think actually that Republican perspective that you often see on TV is becoming the minority perspective in Congress, and the more popular perspective is the one that I'm going to talk about today. I think it's amongst young Republicans, new Republicans elected to Congress, more and more of them are holding views that would be described as a more libertarian leaning, with a strong belief in following the Constitution, a belief in limited government, economic freedom, and in individual liberty. Those are certainly the things I'm about. And people like me will get attacked by those like Karl Rove. You may have seen recently he called me the most liberal Republican in Congress. And the day after he said I was the most liberal Republican in Congress, I received the Freedom Fighter Award from FreedomWorks for my 100% score in 2012. I've kept a 100% score from FreedomWorks, 100% score from Club for Growth. I'm not doing anything to try to achieve those scores. It just happens to be that I vote that way. And I think it's important that we have congressmen who stick to their principles and fight for our liberty, all of our liberty, not just some of it. Fight to defend the entire Constitution.
Yes.
And one of the areas where we're seeing massive erosion in government is in the Fourth Amendment. Our Fourth Amendment protections are being eroded. There was a DNA case recently where the government could take your DNA simply upon arrest. That was upheld by the Supreme Court. There was a great dissent by Justice Scalia in that case. But more recently, what we're seeing is the government is using its surveillance powers through the new technology that's developed over the years, to keep track of all of Americans' records. So every phone record that is out there is being kept by the government. Now, what does that mean? That means that the government doesn't think you have any expectation of privacy in your phone records. They think that it is reasonable to seize all of your phone records. And they argue that that's not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. And I'm here to tell you that regardless of what you'll see on TV from Republican and Democratic defenders of this program and President Obama, you should know that it is outrageous. It's not acceptable. And I think what a lot of people in Congress and in government want to do is to keep saying over and over that it's reasonable, it's okay, until the public says, you know, it's not that bad, it's okay. They want you to get complacent about this stuff. Because it starts with your phone records and then it goes to other things. And to be clear, the government's legal theory, its flawed legal theory, is simply that you don't have an expectation of privacy in anything that a third party has. So if a third party has one of your documents or one of your records, you don't have an expectation of privacy in that document, and therefore the federal government can just access it. They can demand it from the third party. Now, if that's their legal theory, you should know that it may be true that now it's just your phone records. I don't know for sure, because I can't get access to all the classified information, believe it or not, even as a congressman. They won't share that information with rank and file members. But let's suppose that it is just your phone records now. Under their legal theory, they can access things beyond your phone records. It's not just your phone records, because under their legal theory, if you take a picture on your phone, let's say you have an iPhone and you take a picture or you take a video, and it's uploaded to the cloud, either to be saved there or as a backup, the government believes that that is not protected by the Fourth Amendment. They can then go to the cloud, they can go to Apple and say, we demand these photos, and they can get broad sweeping requests to get everyone's photos, all Americans. They can demand all of your videos, and Apple will have to provide it under the government's order, and they will say that that is legal under the Fourth Amendment, that that's acceptable. Now, of course, that's a ludicrous reading of the Fourth Amendment. If you believe that interpretation of the Fourth Amendment, then the Fourth Amendment has no meaning in the modern era. Because most of our papers and effects are kept digitally now. If the Fourth Amendment only applies to the papers we have in our home, then it's not going to have that much of a meaning in an era where we write things and send it out over the internet, or we save files in things like Dropbox or on Google Drive. It's not going to have much meaning. So we have a DoD appropriations bill coming up this week. It's really important to be aware of this and to contact your congressmen, contact your senators, contact others. Make sure that they are aware of what's coming up. The House will be voting on a DoD appropriations bill, and I'm going to offer an amendment or amendments to defund this NSA surveillance on Americans. What we're concerned will happen, and what we're hearing hints of, is that House leadership, this is Republican leadership, wants to stop amendments like mine. And so they are going to, for the first time in recent memory, try to limit debate and limit amendments that may be offered. Normally this is an open process for DoD appropriations, Department of Defense appropriations. You can just offer an amendment, it'll go to Rules Committee, there's a wide open process, there might be many amendments on the floor that can be voted on. This year, for the first time in recent memory, and maybe in history, I don't know, I only know recent memory, they're going to do what's called a structured rule, which means they're not going to allow you to offer anything. They're going to limit it, and they're going to decide what can be offered. So it's really important that members of Congress understand that this is wrong to have this type of process, that they have to accept amendments like mine that allow the American people to have a voice on this issue. We should be allowed to have a vote on amendments like mine, not just this issue, but other issues like arming Syrian rebels. These all fall under DoD appropriations. We should be allowed to have a vote and let the people's representatives speak on this issue. And if it passes, it passes. But we should have the ability to vote on it. It shouldn't be something that's kept, that can't be touched. And that's one thing I'm worried about this coming week. So please contact your congressman. Please contact other representatives throughout the country. Make sure that they are aware of the importance of having the proper amendments this week on DoD appropriations, that we deserve the chance to vote yes or no on whether or not the government can gather all of our phone records. We deserve that opportunity. I'm also working with Congressman Conyers on legislation, and it's related to this surveillance. Congressman Conyers and I are working on amending the Patriot Act. And the reason the government is able to gather all of your records, the legal reason they give, besides the fact that they don't think the Fourth Amendment applies, the legal justification they're giving is that they think that all of your phone records are relevant, quote, relevant, to investigating terrorism. The Patriot Act said that the government can gather records that are relevant to the investigation of terrorism. And for many people who voted for the Patriot Act, I'm not one of them, but say when it happened in 2001, they thought that relevant meant relevant to the person under investigation. So you're investigating someone who's suspected of terrorism, then you can gather documents that are relevant, that are related to that investigation. The government has stretched it through secret court opinions, as we've seen reported in the news, to mean just useful. Any documents that are useful to the investigation of terrorism generally. And since all of your records are useful in their mind, they are all relevant. And they think, therefore, that gathering all of your records complies with the Patriot Act. Now, I think the Patriot Act has other problems, but this is certainly a stretch of what was intended when the Patriot Act was passed. So even if you or others supported the Patriot Act when it was passed, which I did not, and have not voted for its renewal either, even if you supported the Patriot Act, this is a clear stretch of what the Patriot Act should allow. The gathering of everyone's phone records and other records. And the other thing that's important to note in our legislation is we're also trying to allow all members of Congress to access FISA court opinions. The FISA court is the secret court that interprets things like the Patriot Act. Currently, rank-and-file members of Congress, like me, and like most of the Michigan delegation, are not allowed to see the court opinions. So there are court opinions interpreting the Patriot Act, how it's being applied, the court's applying the law. There are court opinions interpreting the Patriot Act. They are able to gather information on all Americans and do all sorts of other things, and I'm not allowed to read the court opinion, and I'm a member of Congress. How can Congress amend broken legislation if we're not allowed to read the opinions? Now, there are people who defend these things and will say, well, the court opinions are shared with the Intelligence Committee, as though the Intelligence Committee is Congress. The Intelligence Committee is not Congress. Congress is Congress. And when the Constitution says Congress is part of the federal government, that there's a legislative branch, they mean the entire legislative branch. They don't mean just those who President Obama or House leadership decides deserve to have the information. The Constitution means everyone in Congress should be able to access that information because we all have to represent our constituents and we all deserve that kind of access. The last thing that the bill that Conyers and I are working on, we've already offered it. It has about 40 co-sponsors, half Republican, half Democratic, I want to let you know. So it's a very bipartisan proposal. It has a lot of support, conservatives to liberals and libertarians. It's got them all on this legislation. The last thing it does is it allows declassified summaries of all these opinions to be made available to the public. So if they're worried about classified information getting out to the public and being a danger to society, in the very least, they should offer declassified summaries of the relevant opinions so that people at home can also know how the law is being applied. You can have secret operations in a free country, but you can't have secret laws. And what we have right now are secret laws, and that has to stop. And with that, I want to open it up to questions so that you guys can get the most out of this while I'm here. Thanks.
Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Rogers, is he aware of your amendment to the bill regarding the NSA and whether he supports it?
I can't say whether he'll support it or not. I can't say whether he's aware of it or not either. But there are news stories about it today, so I'm hopeful that he does know about it at this point. Yeah.
How is it that they classify our records, whether it be phone, email, or whatever, as business records? I know they're used to make a phone bill, or they're used for, but isn't that what they're using to gather it all? We're allowed to get business records.
Sure, that's how they often phrase it. But actually, the Patriot Act says that they can gather tangible things, and tangible things, I think, was Congress's way of saying they can't take away your hope or your joy or other intangible. They can't take away, your. They can't break your spirit, because pretty much tangible means anything that has matter, as far as I'm concerned. And so the Patriot Act is written broadly enough to gather not just business records, but anything tangible, which is everything. Everything except your dreams and beliefs. And on the Sunday news shows, that's not what it is. The people who appear on those Sunday shows do not represent most rank-and-file Republicans, certainly don't represent grassroots Republicans, and don't represent what new Republican members of Congress think. And that's why they're pushing back so hard against people like me, Karl Rove and others. They're pushing back because we're a threat to them. We threaten what they've been doing, and we're independent. So we have to make a flight up to D.C., so I'm going to have to get going. But I really appreciate you having me here today, and stay strong, stay fighting for liberty, and thanks.
You.
Thanks for
Thank
you.
Okay, and wrapping up here, the whole thing started off with the Amash versus Boehner thing. When Amash lost his seat on one of the committees because of him being so-called liberal Republican, which is very far from the truth. Boehner got him kicked off the committee, and then I guess Amash led some kind of a revolt against Boehner in the House, trying to basically replace him as a head. But he goes on to say, well, if you get rid of Boehner, who are you going to replace him with? We could end up with somebody that we like even less than Boehner. And, Boehner was crying for the position, so, I guess there's some semblance of, of emotional heart to him. Anyways, what did I want to say here? All this information is being collected on us. Imagine a world for yourself, like in Minority Report, if you've seen the movie, right, where John walks into a mall, he's retina scanned, all of a sudden, boom, they're offering him, his favorite beer, or his favorite cigar, or different types of clothes, Imagine getting in an argument with your wife, right, and the TV's on, all of a sudden there's a commercial on for divorce, all right? This is the type of world that we're headed for with the sharing of this information, all right, which is being basically taken from us and being used for, whatnot. Your customer loyalty cards, all right, from, Kroger's or Speedway or whatever it is, all this information goes into a file, and you're being profiled, all right? So that not only can things be marketed towards you, but also, people can draw certain types of opinions about you, and as well as your government can draw certain opinions about you. A weird Orwellian 1984, style of, just creepiness, invasion of privacy is really descending on us, and we're going to have to really put our foot, draw a line in the sand right now and say our Fourth Amendment is extremely important to us, the right to privacy. That's why we have walls on our house. That's why we wear clothes on our body, We have a right to privacy. People don't need to know everything about us, you know. What if you were a U of M fan and you were looking up something from like state or whatever, you know? Maybe because, you know, maybe you're a secret state fan. Then you go to work the next day and you're heckled, you know. I mean, there's no end to the amount of situations that we could possibly find ourselves in. So what can we do, you know, as individuals besides contacting our local representatives? Well, there's a few things, all right. For one, there's Start Page, which is basically more or less like a Google server, all right, and it's powered by Google, but your searches are encrypted. So basically, that doesn't go back into the mainframe so that they can, you know, start a file on you. There's also, and Start Page just launched Start Mail, all right, and Start Mail has got like the best encryption, which changes every time with every single email. So it would be very, very hard for anybody to basically find out, you know, what you're sending, you know, to you know, your mother, your girlfriend, your mistress, whatever, you know. Yes, question?
Is Start Mail free?
I do not know yet. I think it might be.
I actually know. Start Mail right now is in its beta test phase.
Yeah, it's in beta test.
And you can, I think you can still sign up as a beta tester. And I do believe that as soon as they get it online, it'll be free.
So that's good stuff there. There's a couple other things that you can do. You can go into your computer and clean out your temporary internet file folders. All right, your cookies, which are basically every time you visit a website, you know, it takes certain information from you, which they say is anonymous data, but really it's not anonymous. And you go through, delete that, delete your temporary files, delete your recent files, and there's a file inside your cookies folder. All right, it's called index.dat, D-A-T. All right. You'll need a special program in order just to view the contents of this file. But within this file is every single website that you've ever visited, you know. And now the really funny thing about that is, like, let's say, you know, you're a parent, you know, and you go away for a while, you know, and your kids are, you know, home and they're screwing around with your computer, and one of your kids' friends gets on your computer and he goes and looks up, you know, some pornography or something like whatever, you know. All of a sudden, you know, your profile, because that computer belongs to you, you know. I mean, this is really gets into some, you know, really scary things, you know, where you're being profiled for things that, you know, you actually didn't do, you know, just because it happened on your machine. But of course, now that we know that they can access and turn on the cameras and the microphones on your computer, maybe they will know who it is, you know. But you can definitely go through, you can edit that information, you can delete that information. I encourage you to all to delete that information and kind of, you know, just do your best to stay out of the matrix, you know what I'm saying? Only enter it when you want to fight Mr. Smith and everybody else that's going on over here. But anyways, that pretty much concludes my presentation for the day, and we're going to give it over to Shane Schrader, all right, who's going to be taking over with the state issues. Thank you very much.